Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the EKN Radio Network and a new Industry Insider podcast. Obviously, the podcast we use to get a chance to talk to the primary players within the sport of karting here in North America, whether it be team owners, shop owners, and obviously a lot of times we talk to promoters and the heads of the organizations. Today, myself, Rob Howard, alongside David Cole, pleased to sit down here, actually at CalSpeed, during a red flag situation early in the day. We figured we'd take the time to get a hold of Garett Potter, probably one of the harder guys to get a hold of in the sport because he's thrashing to make things happen. The ROK program, ROK Cup USA program, really growing. Garett, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Glad to be here. It's good to see you guys.
So let's talk first and foremost overall with the ROK program. You know, there's the ROK Florida Winter Tour. There's the Challenge of the Americas where we're here now. We're going to talk about the ROK Fest events that you guys recently announced. But let's talk about this one right here because success stories keep coming right now for ROK. And this one, the Challenge of the Americas, record numbers here this weekend, which I think is huge. Obviously, Winter Tour's always been strong, right? It's been strong for 20-something years. You guys, in the changeover from the Rotax to the ROK, kept it going. But Andy's changeover 3 years ago, now with record numbers here, 141 drivers, that's got to be big overall, not just for Andy, but for you guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're excited.
There you go.
How's that help?
You're good.
Okay. Obviously, I'm excited for ROK, but actually a little more excited for Andy than. I mean, I can see how excited he is, and you know, he was didn't know where he was going to be 3 years ago. So it's really cool to see. And for me, you know, obviously coming from the shifter side, I mean, the shifter numbers here are amazing. It's
51.
And I love it, you know, and I love the sound of it. I love everything about it. It's cool. And I'm really happy for Andy. He's excited. And you know, we talked yesterday. I'm like, you know, it's realistic that he could be at 180, 190 next year if we push. You know?
And that's the conversation we had was the fact that here you are at record numbers at 141. You've got 51 shifters. There's momentum in the shifter category, so he can go to 60 or 65, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just say that's the little growth he gets there. It's the fact that he has 3 or 4 guys in micro and 7, 8 in mini. We know
there's a lot of room there.
Our explosion there of up to 20 each, and you're right, you're potentially at 170, 180, and then you're thinking about that 200 mark, right?
Yeah, I mean it's great for him. I'm excited, and for the future, it's big.
I think overall, just great for the sport as well. And I think a lot of people, you know, we're in a place right now. The landscape of karting, it's changed over the last number of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rotax brought in that kind of program where we control everything. It's our engine, our tires, our events, right? More manufacturer driven, and that's where we are now. There's Rotax coming back. There's obviously the IAME program with Superkarts USA and USPKS, whatever it may be. You guys, of course, doing the same thing with ROK. But overall, even if you just step back and if you're a fan of karting, to have huge Florida Winter Tour races, huge SCUSA Winter Series races, huge Challenge of the Americas races, that's just really, really good for the sport overall.
Absolutely, 100%. And we did have the conversation about him, you know, hitting those numbers next year, but we still got a ton of work to do. Yeah. I mean, not just us. The entire industry has a ton of work to do. Them, specifically micro and minis. I mean, everybody's struggling a little bit there. Yeah. I mean, and that's our group for the next 10 or 12 years. So for me, the shifter numbers are exciting and it's cool to see, and entertainment-wise it's great. But and not that we don't want to stay focused on that, but I think for me, the core focus needs to be back to that group, you know, that younger kids that we can have for a long period of time. And also just where the economy is. I mean, there's money to be spent.
Agreed. Yeah.
We just gotta snag them. That we got to get them hooked. And we've had this conversation for years about it. And you know, that for me, that's really where our focus is, because you know, I see the engines coming out of our warehouse. We're not selling minis.
Yeah.
You know, we're selling juniors, we're selling seniors, and obviously shifters. But you know, minis are collecting dust, so we need to figure out something.
And that's interesting because the momentum and the excitement of shifters kind of sells itself, right? You got 51 shifters here. You don't need to sell a shifter right now because guys are going to want to bang gears and come and play. We saw that with a couple of junior drivers coming. You know, William Ferguson wins the junior championship. He jumps right into shifter because he's excited about it. You're right. The future of the 10-year plan of ROK is that kid that's in micro or mini right now. Are there any plans that you can talk about right now? Things you want to do? Is it all about promoting it? What is it?
It's tough. I mean, and again, I know we've had this conversation in private about, you know, it's, you know, the ambassadors at the tracks. It starts at the tracks.
It does.
You know, it's tracks and shops, locals all over. that's where it starts, and it's not easy. Everybody has an idea of what needs to be done, but it really, I can't emphasize enough to everybody that's listening is we as divided as we are, as a market, we have got to come together and focus on that. If we don't focus on anything else, I don't care if it's shifters or, seniors or juniors or whatever, we have got to get together and come up with a plan on how we're going to get new people in the sport.
Yeah, I agree.
I just, I know you do a lot of work on with the grassroots program and the Briggs and that type of stuff, but it's all of us have really got to concentrate on that, especially the guys that are in it for money. If we're here as a business, whether it's a shop or a track or whatever, we've got to shift some focus off of the craziness.
It's interesting, right? Because we speak with immediacy on that, like we have to do it now, as if it hasn't been the conversation we've had for the last probably 40 years in the sport, right? It's how to continue to bring new people in, not just new people, but you said maybe more focus now, bringing new young people into the sport as well.
Yeah, and I know that's where I'm at. I mean, we'll keep pushing, where we are, but for me, that's really going to be, how do I get.
Well, and as you said, the grassroots program is what helps bring people in. And again, you have that ladder system where guys can start at the Briggs program, and you guys already have Briggs at the Florida Winter Tour, and they're kind of introduced into what the ROK program is. So you have that ability, at least for juniors, to move up. So right now, in order to focus on growth in mini and micro, we have to kind of look at kid karting.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Because it's something WK is doing. They brought the kid karts back. Not a lot of programs kind of promote kid karting. LAKC does here a little bit, but I think when you look at the grassroots level, I think that's where a lot of tracks really need to kind of focus on.
Absolutely.
Is the kid kart level. No matter what engine brand they run, it's just getting kids in karts then moving them up from there.
That 5 to 10-year-old range is where we need to focus. And I think, honestly, it's, in my mind, from my experience, it's the easiest thing to sell too. If you can just get the person in front of you or at the track, it's the easiest package to sell. Price wise, the parents are excited. Maybe not the mom, but the dad is.
There's not many kids that if you give them a chance to drive something, they're not saying, "I want this right now."
I know, and that for me, also my experience is that particular class. If you're in it for the financial gain, whether you're a team or a shop or whatever, I know parents that are late on a mortgage to buy a set of tires.
Yeah.
They'll spend the dough.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's something that, for me, it comes to the track. So I've been working with, UMC, there was a lot of craziness at UMC in the Miller changeover. Yeah. I'm working with Jody there to try and build that, and M Square to try and build that program back where it was, because we all know that was, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that was 120 deep at some point. Now it's 40.
Yeah, and so throw that number out there. That's the number. Remember, it's the first any club over 100.
Yeah,
at 100.
That's a big
100 is a magic number. Yeah. I continually say that because at our local club track we had close to 100.
Yep.
And that's when you were like, this is a thing.
Yeah,
like, this is an event. Just kind of like here, you're hitting record numbers.
Yeah,
it's an event. People want to be there, and then when you have a club track that's pulling that numbers in. Consistently, that kind of helps bring more and more people, gets more interest into it. A Newcastle Motorsports Park, a GoPro Motorplex. Yeah. Sonoma is probably getting very close to the 100 number, if not over the last couple of years, because they had kind of an up and down swing going from the Rotax to the ROK, and now they're building that back up again.
And some of those areas are going to be a little tougher, because there's a lot of racing. I mean, California, for example, you try and put a calendar together in California, and it's crazy, right? So an area like this is a little more challenging, but an area like NOLA or Miller or some of these other regions should be easy to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's enough people there.
And there's not a lot of competition where people are trying to split the groups or whatever. So I really plan on spending a lot of time in those areas to try and there's some changes that also happened at NOLA. There's a new general manager there. Dennis is fantastic. Okay. So I'm excited to see that because there's been a lot of
you have a little background there, don't you?
Yeah, and a small place in my heart for that place to be successful, and Miller for that, or UMC for that matter. Yeah. Two of the best tracks in the country should be at 150 and they're at 40 or 30. So there's a lot of work to be done, but it can be done.
Good conversation to start off this podcast here with Garett Potter from ROK Cup USA. Stay with us, folks. After this break, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about the Florida Winter Tour, how that's gone. We'll talk more challenge, and we'll talk about the dates for this year's ROK Fest events as well. Stay with us. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network. 25 years of experience, 25 years of success. Greg Bell and Leading Edge Motorsports are heading into their third decade in the sport with winning momentum and the best material possible. Last year's monumental victories at the ROK the Rio and SCUSA Super Nationals have proven what the sport has long known. Greg Bell is one of the finest karting tuners, and he and his drivers can get the job done. Looking for a change in equipment? Get on board with Leading Edge Motorsports. Leading Edge is North America's factory team for Formula K and Praga karts, and the new 2020 models are in stock and ready for pickup or shipping to your garage. Do you want to win like Danny Formal did with Leading Edge in Las Vegas? Call Greg Bell today at 209-369-0921 to secure your place on the team. Leading Edge Motorsports will be trackside in 2020 at the Challenge of the Americas, SCUSA Pro Tour and California Pro Kart Challenge, ROK Sonoma, and the KPX Karting Championship in NorCal. From ROK to Miami to Briggs, rely on Greg Bell and Leading Edge Motorsports to give you everything you need to step into the winner's circle. Check out leadingedgemotorsports.com to learn more. The final round of the fastest growing ROK Cup program in the U.S., the Challenge of the Americas, is coming, and you're not going to want to miss it. It's the program's 13th season and year 3 of their ROK focus, and the numbers are steadily growing. And the season finale in Sonoma Wine Country on March 27, 28, 29 is shaping up to set a new attendance record. Don't miss it. The FOMO will be real. Our classes include Micro, Mini, Junior, Senior, and Masters ROK, our multi-manufacturer 100cc Junior, Senior, and Masters program, and our well-supported ROK Shifter and ROK Shifter Masters categories. We're by far the largest shifter program in the West, with 56 unique competitors and an average of 32 shifter drivers in just 2 categories last winter. There are over 40 ROK shifters in Cal Speed, and more are expected for Sonoma in March. Prizes include tickets to the massive ROK Super Final and the ROK the Rio event in Las Vegas. The Challenge of the Americas season finale is set for March 27 to 29, so head to the series website at challengekarting.com and get registered so you can join us in Sonoma. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. Rob Howden, David Cole, and Garett Potter from ROK Cup USA. Good chance to grab Garett here. We actually had a red flag before we got started during practice or warm-up this morning here from the Challenge of the Americas race, and David said, listen, we can hardly ever get a hold of Garett. He's here. Let's just bring him in and tie him down for 40 minutes.
He still had to chase me down.
I sent you a text. And you didn't get back.
Well, that's why we put him in the power chair, right? Yeah. He's below us right now.
We got to hold on to him down here so he can't get away. We talked a bit about the sport and your plans and things you're looking at. Obviously, great comments on trying to get younger people into the sport. But let's just talk overall about where you guys are. Florida Winter Tour, strong. And I don't say a different approach because you've done the temp circuits the last couple of years, but man, a new temp circuit race. Then you go to Ocala, which might have been a little bit easier logistically for you. Deep breath in the middle way through. But now, here we are, 2 weeks away, I guess it is, from you going from St. Petersburg, Tropicana Field. Man, dude, you're not making it easy on yourself. It's great for the racers to go a week before the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, the IndyCar race. You guys are going to be right there at Tropicana Field. Talk about that race.
Yeah, I mean, it's one temp track a year is tough, Vegas, but now we're up to 3. We're getting it down, so it seems like less work, but it's a big challenge. It's cost us a lot of money. Everybody, you guys have been involved on the other side for a long time and understand the expense. So it's a massive expense to put on these programs, a lot of work for the temp circuits, but the customers love it. So we've opened that Pandora's box. It is what it is now. I mean, people are, what are we doing next year? So we were a little worried. Hard Rock was fantastic. We loved that place. The location, the backdrop, it was crazy, perfect. And then the NFL bought up every inch of asphalt in Miami. So it was a struggle. You seen that I released pretty late. Yeah. Because
we were waiting. Yeah.
I was worried whether I was going to get a deal done, just because I couldn't get any property anywhere. So we ended up at Pompano at the Isle Casino, and the place was fantastic.
That's great.
It actually worked out better in my mind than the stadium. they're really excited to work with this hotel on site.
Okay.
So that could be really cool for the future. But for the event, it was great. The track turned out phenomenal. The guys loved it.
So you figure that you'll be back to that venue again next
You know,
year?
we don't have anything done.
50-50 kind of thing?
Yeah, but what the funny part is the NFL's not there. Now everybody's calling me that said we couldn't do
Super
anything.
Bowl.
So
There's a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options open for us there, but I really liked it, and it helps to when people enjoy it and want you to be there, it helps the whole program. So we don't have anything in place, but good chance we'll be back there.
Okay.
So
let's talk this way. The thing kind of where the ROK Cup program is right now, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. You have that kicker at the start of the season and the big kicker at the end of the
Right.
season. You're trying right now. It's filling the program in with either other events. We'll talk Rockfest, other tracks. That you're trying to build programs around the country. Coming out of the winter tour, obviously strong. You have one more race still to go. You've been getting great numbers, a lot of great racing. Let's talk Rockfest first. You announced the events. We got an East Coast race and a West Coast race.
yeah, we went East and West. We had 1 and 2 before. We went East and West. We're still a little weak in the center of the country. Something I'm working on with a few people to try and build that. And it's hard because obviously the country's huge. So our core in the past has always been on the east. So when you start passing over the Mississippi, they're screaming a little, saying, "Where are you going?"
Yeah.
So and the new partnership with WK, the Charlotte track, they're stoked, right?
Yeah.
They're putting new pavement down. They're going to emphasize more on back into the karting program. So that's going to be exciting. I've never been there. So, I know we had world championships, I guess, there for a couple of years.
To kind of bring people back into it, if you haven't heard yet, inside the Charlotte Motor Speedway, there used to be a kart track there. Back in the mid-'90s, they had what was called the North American Karting Championships with the actual FIA. It was an FIA-listed race. One year, the 98, they actually had the Formula C, which is KZ. Formula C World Championships were actually on that track. Yep. On that weekend, there was obviously a full road race as well, and they ran. I think that they used to run for a while. They ran the pavement oval outside the track, but they also did the 300-lap Briggs and Stratton race on the right, the front straightaway kind of deal there. It was a big event.
There's a lot of moonshine stories that Rob can tell you off the air.
Part of that deal, yeah.
And again, it used to be part of Stars of Karting.
Right.
Manufacturers Cup was there for a long time. I believe 2008, 2009 was the last time they were there, and then the track kind of. They had the major sinkhole, which kind of took away the actual racetrack.
That's still on Google, by the way.
Yeah, it's still exactly. So now, I went there for the WK race that they had at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where they used part of the Roval course, which in a sense was not what they wanted to do. And being a former WK board trustee, every time I went there for a meeting, I'm like, why are we not using this
karting
track? It's historic. You have all these guys who are now mechanics or team owners who raced there
before.
In the day.
Right.
They're all going to come back out now, putting on their leathers if they still have them,
Absolutely.
or whatever else, and they're going to race it because it's nostalgic to race there. And a lot of these guys that are still in the sport that were part of the big years, like you said, during the '90s, they love that racetrack because it was a nitty-gritty, tough racetrack to drive.
Well, and for me, I love going to new places. I mean, even though there's some places like, the stadium was great, but it was cool to go to Pompano because it was new. Biloxi was fantastic. Yep. Everybody had a great time there last year. NOLA's always fantastic, but it's going to be fun to just go somewhere new. So,
and this track, obviously, they were going to totally repave the thing inside the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's inside turns 3 and 4 of the NASCAR track. It also kind of really plays well with the partnership you guys have with the World Karting Association. They're located right there, as David had mentioned. You're a big part of the Manufacturers Cup with the ROK program, which is a huge move in the off season to work with WKA. It really kind of fits everything together to have a really, really big race. Not only are you going to pull the Man Cup guys that are already supporting ROK, people are just going to want to come to that event.
Well, yeah, and I think for us, it's the goal is to build our own program. I mean, that's but the important part is to work with the partnerships too. So Kevin and Mike have been great to deal with. They're excited about the program, and it's good to have those guys on board because they've worked that whole area for years, so they know all the ins and outs. And I'm just, I think everybody, it's really a new track for everybody. It's going to have new pavement down, even and as you said, I don't know how long it's been. Has any of our drivers ever been on that track?
Like I said, it's got to be probably at least 10 years. that there 12 years probably that there's actually been a manufactured cup race. I
on
think,
there.
Yeah, once they had that sinkhole, they never let carts back out on the
So
race.
most of the juniors weren't born yet.
Yeah.
Is what we're saying. Right?
That's exactly
what we're
it.
saying.
Yeah, that's
The
exactly
last time we were there.
Yeah, so that should be good.
Before we move on, one last thing about the Rock Fest there, especially there, you run the Briggs categories at the Winter Tour. I'm not sure if it's going to be part of the Rock Fest because there's a lot of Briggs racers. Gold Cup was a major event at that speedway, so that's another area of the sport to kind of reach. Like,
is that an idea you're putting in my head?
If you have Briggs, I'm just saying.
You mentioned it before,
I said
David.
this to you off the air a couple of days
Right.
ago. I'm like, I think the Briggs categories there, especially in senior, could be massive.
Massive
because
numbers,
these
yeah.
guys,
Get 40. Yeah.
Because these guys, these old Briggs racers who haven't been there in, like I
Right.
said, over a decade,
Yeah.
might want to be there for the Rock Fest.
That's something to think about. You know, for the big reason why we do it at Florida Winter Tour is to support the Canadian teams,
Yep.
right? I mean, they travel down to play with us, you know, in the winter. It's a journey for them, and if they can throw, you know, 4, 5, 6 guys in their trailer under the tent, it really helps those
No doubt.
teams.
Yeah.
So that's typically the reason for the Briggs there. But you know, you can see we had some pretty good numbers at Ocala. I mean, and they love the Ocala track, but it's something to think about for sure.
What is the date for the Rock Fest East? Top of your head?
July 30th through August 2nd.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
Just wanna
without
confirm.
looking
So
at
we-
the calendar.
It's the weekend after Battle of the Brickyard,
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
because the Battle of the Brickyard is the same weekend as the Manufacturers Cup Series race. That's at Charlotte, which will be the warm-up for the
Rock Fest.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
Yep.
So let's go to the other side of the Mississippi, like you talked about. You as you said, where you're growing rock, and it grows where it grows, where the interest comes, and you feed that interest. And there is a lot, of course, out here on the West Coast right now. Great numbers here at the Challenge this weekend, 141. There's a great group of rockers up at Sonoma.
Right.
Talk about Rock Fest West now.
Yeah. So again, you know, to support the West guys and our programs, and Sonoma's a fantastic. Everybody wants to go
Yeah,
to Sonoma.
exactly.
You know, who doesn't want to race there?
Yeah. And which
So-
families can go there too. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know.
So to support Steve and his program and Rock Sonoma, we thought it was important to go there. And again, you know, when you're going to these places, it's important to start out with a base. You know, so you know, if I can roll in there with a 40 or 50 base, then you know I expect some pretty good numbers. You know, we've got you know quite a few loyal rockers up in the Northwest as well that I think we'll see come down.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to get there. I love going there. It's a great facility, and Steve Tavish, the group there. Actually, the week before, if I'm not mistaken, is a Rock Sonoma race. That's in conjunction with Andy's California Rock Championship.
Yeah.
So a chance for people to come up there, leave their stuff, you know, get 2 weekends in for one travel trip.
Yeah, indeed.
So I'm excited, and then we do have some commitments from some of the larger teams because it's getting closer to the end of the year, where they're going to roll in there and run that, and then just go to Vegas from there. So I think the dates are good. Last year we went to Amarillo, which was fantastic.
Great track.
I love that place.
Yeah, good people too.
But we dropped it in the middle of a 7 or 8 week stretch, so it wasn't a fantastic plan for me.
Yeah.
So I think that September date is going to be a good date
And
for
let's
us.
be real. Rock Cup USA 2019 versus Rock Cup USA 2020. There's just more momentum and more drivers.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
The
Yeah.
more time you get engines in. The Amarillo, you guys went to a fantastic track in the middle of West Texas.
With
and
no- with no base.
With no
There's
base.
nobody there,
And the
yeah.
numbers no
Yeah.
base. You didn't
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
30, 40, 50 like you said
Yeah.
that gives you the base to start.
Right.
You rolled the dice. But again, you went to a great track.
And it was
You're-
fun. We had fun. We
Yeah.
only had 50 drivers there, but it was fantastic.
That's
We had a
good.
good time.
Where was I going to go next with that? So if you just to get it out there, guys, if you want any information on these Rock Fest races, it's rockcupusa.com. I'll get that out there. David, any other questions about Rock Fests before we cut to another break?
A little bit about the prizes. I believe
Yeah,
there's going to
that's
be
what I was gonna
prizes for both events.
Yeah, so last year, obviously we'll have Italy tickets and Rio tickets at the East. Last year we didn't do Italy tickets because it was a little bit late to try and get everybody's paperwork
Oh, that makes sense. I forgot
set.
about that. Yeah.
But now we're even going later. But we have talked to the powers to be, and they're going to make it happen. So we're going to do Italy tickets there too.
But yeah, so essentially those are going to come together the Monday after the race kind of thing, right? Like we got to get it done.
Got to do
Yeah.
what you got to do. I mean,
Ursula's we're going to be up late Sunday figuring it all out.
Pleased with you right now and all.
hey, you're in Sonoma. Take her to a wine
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly.
Set her up with some vino, she'll be all right. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, folks, have another quick break here. When we get back, I want to talk about Rock the Rio a little bit. I want to take the opportunity to talk about the 100cc program, too. It's not something we've touched on yet. So let's do that when we get back here on the Industry Insider with Garett Potter. It's 2020, and it's time to rock. The ROK Cup USA Florida Winter Tour resumes on the March 5th to 9th weekend, and the final round of this year's series will be extra special. They have a brand new venue, Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, and they'll offer up another competitive temporary circuit for their drivers to fight it out for the championships. The race is just 1 week before the NTT IndyCar Series Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, so come down out of the cold to race the Florida Winter Tour and hang out in the Sunshine State for the IndyCar opener. It's spring break, rock style. We've also announced our Rockfest events for 2020. Rockfest East will take place at the newly paved kart track inside the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina on the July 30th to August the 2nd weekend. Rockfest West will bring our rockers together at the Sim Raceway Performance Karting Center in Sonoma, California on September 17th to 20th. Head to rockcupusa.com to register today. Let's rock! "2019 was a great year, no question. But the offseason is here, and I know that your mind is already thinking about next season. We all want to get better and improve our skills and our racecraft. And maybe you're tired of missing the podium or even the championship. So what do? Here's what I think. Take a breather from throwing money at the newest speed secret and a new chassis you don't quite need yet. Invest in yourself. Take yourself to the next level as a driver. If you want to improve your results, do what every athlete does, regardless of the sport. Get professional coaching. And in karting, there's only one choice. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston. Alan Rudolph is a legend in our sport, and he's been a coach for over 15 years. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy offers custom coaching programs for newcomers and experienced racers alike. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Get ready for 2020 by calling 866-607-7223 or head to speedsportsracingpark.com to learn more. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, another Industry Insider podcast. Myself, Rob Howden, alongside David Cole. Our guest today in the hot seat, essentially insider hot seat, I guess, David, is ROK Cup USA's Garett Potter. We've talked a lot about the Rockfest events. We talked about Winter Tour Challenge. Let's talk a little bit about Rock the Rio right now. Let's get an opportunity to talk Rock the Rio. This is the third year for that, right? Third year for
yep.
the Rock the Rio. Every year, more momentum. Were you surprised by the amount of numbers last year? Because you guys had a really strong event last year.
You know, for me, I was surprised. I mean, I was surprised we were at over. We ended up 320-ish, somewhere in there. You know, in my mind, we were 220-ish. You know, the year in 18, I guess, and I was going to be happy with the 270. I thought that was going to be decent. Kind of working my way through.
I always say 10% growth to Andy Saisman or anybody talking 10% growth. That's way more than 10% growth, right?
Yeah. So when Ursula texted me and said, "Oh, we're at 300," I'm like, "Holy crap!" Right? So then she 310, 320, and I'm like, we were extremely excited. I mean, the issues that you have now is time, right? So
Indeed.
we have quite a few classes there with both the 100cc program, or actually we had 300 cc's last year. So now, how do you take those entries, which we're super excited about, and still put on the same show that everybody's used to putting on? Mm-hmm. So that's the difficult part, whether it's track time, whether it's bathrooms, whether it's this, whether it's that. So this is where the challenge becomes a big challenge.
And more staff as well. People don't realize that. When you get another 30 people, you're bringing another 3 or 4 people into work.
Yeah, I mean, when the classes go from 30 to 50, it's a big change for tech, and I mean just in everything in general, whether it's scale lines, whether it's grid, whether it's I mean it's and I truly believe, based on what we see here, what's going on with Andy, South America has been crazy with sales for us, specifically the 100cc. A lot of shifter stuff. South and Central America has been crazy. So I think that it's very possible we'll be in the 400 range. The problem with that is how do you how do you keep that show that you're used to delivering? So that's going to be the challenge. Because the other thing that I love about our program is we end on Saturday. So everybody has that chance to come up to the presidential suite, hang out, reminisce for the weekend, celebrate the year. I know you celebrated really good with this.
It was a good party. But that's kind of how Vegas is. I mean, you were partying too. We all were.
Yeah, David deflected that really well. Here's a quick deflect on that.
You
right?
were partying
you
too.
Were partying
I was kind of forced into it because there was a
Really?
lot of peer pressure there. A lot of peer pressure.
Okay, let's understand.
But it's a unique aspect because again, this was the first time I was there. I didn't take part in the open events that you had there before. And ending on Saturday, it's a weird vibe because again, I didn't get there till Friday morning, and it was kind of all a big blur because everything was on time, on schedule. It was bang bang. There's a lot of racing that they get done on Friday, which was amazing. Like you said, to get all that done and be done before the lights come on in Vegas, because again, you're not used to that in Vegas. We're used to racing under the lights.
Yeah.
And to get everything done before it gets dark is unique, and to be able to get all that done, and then as you said, everything's done on Saturday. It was a chilled, fun, unique event to be part of.
Well, and for me, I love that aspect because it gives me time to just hang out and take a big breath with the customers, and the pressure's off, the season's over, and everybody can party and have fun. Take an afternoon or a mid-morning flight. There's nothing crazy happening.
On Sunday,
The problem is, as you start hitting those, if you really hit a 400 number, you're talking about bringing Sunday in because it's the only way you're going to.
Or do you just have to go later? Do you have to bring the lights out and go late?
I mean, you have those options. Yeah. For me, I something that I've always loved about that event too, and I know our customers have liked, is being done at 5 or 6 o'clock before the lights.
Yep.
So people can, again, enjoy the night, whether it's,
Vegas, right?
coming up and just hanging out and going to getting a decent dinner. So I'll probably steer away from the lights just because I want people to not spend 16 hours at the track.
Yeah.
But so we're maybe looking at Sunday. So maybe party on Sunday instead of Saturday.
We'll party anytime. But there's also the part of you moving off the Halloween week because there's obviously world schedules that got moved around. I believe the World Championships are in Brazil that weekend before, so you guys had to move a week later.
Well, luckily, this is funny. Italy called me about that because the way the calendar worked when I did the agreement, have always been on that date. But everybody assumed we were on the Halloween date because that's what we had been on. But so I didn't have to move, but it just worked out. But and what we're going to be? Are we going to be later in there? We're going to be losing light then too, right?
A little bit, yep.
So yeah, it's it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right, let's take one more quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the 100cc program. I want to talk about the VLR. I had a chance to drive one last year at Sonoma. Stay with us, folks. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network. You've heard and read about us. We are the Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. Our senior program is the best in the sport, and we have the SCUSA Pro Tour X30 Senior Championship to prove it. Our coaching staff includes 4-time SCUSA National Champion Ryan Norbert, 3-time SCUSA Supernats winner Bonner Moulton, SCUSA Pro Tour X30 Junior Champion, 2015 Rotax Grand Finals Vice Champion, and Junior Development Specialist Luke Selkin, and our hands-on owner, multi-time champion, and IKF Duffy winner Mike Rawlson. This isn't sideline coaching. We're on track, and we dogfight with you. It's like nothing you've ever experienced. You learn more and more with every single lap. Our seniors win races, like Hannah Greenmeyer at the SCUSA Winter Series opener in Florida. And they win because they've been trained, coached, and honed by our RPG staff. Hurricane Hannah is proof positive. If you're a mini driver ready to move up, or a junior driver who's done with running mid-pack, join the team that will develop your skills and take you to the podium. At the Rawlson Performance Group, we turn juniors into pros. In 2020, we'll be racing at the SCUSA Winter Series, Pro Tour and California Pro Kart Challenge, the Florida Winter Tour, and the United States Pro Kart Series, as well as the IKF Northwest region. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. We're the Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. In Las Vegas this past November, at the ROK the Rio finale and the SCUSA Super Nationals, Formula K reigned supreme. Daniel Formal drove his leading-edge motorsports Formula K Evo 3 to wins in the biggest races of the year, proving the outright speed of the Formula K brand. And you can make Formula K your kart in 2020 by contacting your local dealer today. Atlanta Motorsports Park is the importer and distributor of the Formula K line, as well as the race-winning Praga chassis, and you can connect with your dealer through the AMP website. The new 2020 Formula K Monster Evo 3 is ready to ride and win, complete with IP Karting's new STRV brake system. Follow in the footsteps of Formal and steer your own Formula K to victory lane. If a Praga is more your style, the Dragon Evo 2 is the perfect choice for single-speed competition. Bolt on your Miami X30, Vortex Rock, or Rotax Max and go out and win. Atlanta Motorsports Park has both Formula K and Praga chassis in stock to support new dealers, and they have previous year models in their inventory available for racers who are looking to get a winning chassis at a discount. Head to atlantamotorsportspark.com/karting to learn more about Formula K, Praga, and AMP's karting program. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. We have pinned down Garett Potter here at Cal Speed Karting during a red flag early in the Challenge of the Americas event here. Garett, great to have you with us again. Let's talk about the 100cc program, because I think we talked, early in the podcast, we talked about bringing new people into the sport. You do that through the micro and the mini rock categories. Another entry part of the sport, if you can't get them that young, is getting them, when it comes to Briggs Racing 206 4-cycle, a lot of times somebody wants to go faster. That's just what you do. You can become a 4-cycle lifer, or you'll drive for a while and say, I want to try something faster.
Right.
Well, the 100cc, the push-button tag electric start stuff, that's what kind of the fresh new deal is. Obviously, IME has the KA100. A number of programs run them straight up with the VLR 100. Mm-hmm. How's that program gone for you so far? Because obviously in the categories, the junior categories, going great for you.
The junior's fantastic. When did we introduce that? We introduced it in 18, I guess, maybe mid-18, something like that, when we brought that engine out. But we had been thinking about it probably a year prior. And for me, and I don't know if we've had this conversation, but for me, when you see Rotax go away, for 15, 16, 17 years, they covered the market. Well, they didn't cover the market but let's say the last 10 or 12 years, they were able to sell that engine for life program, which was fantastic, right? Yeah. You started out in a micro, and you had the engine all the way up until you wanted to quit.
Exactly, yeah.
But when that kind of went away, in my mind, we had a huge hole from a 60cc, cadet, and then they're jumping into a junior.
That's it, yeah.
And there was, in my mind, it was like, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense safety-wise, ability-wise, cost-wise. I mean, you name the reason. So when I talked to Vortex about building that engine, that was the idea, is to fill that hole. And then the other thing is, as you mentioned, a lot of my conversations, whether I was in Canada or in the Northwest or whatever, talking to four-strokers, they were ready to make a change. They were getting bored. They had ran it for 4 or 5 years. They needed something. They are not buying a GP. Just that period. Yeah. They're just not going to put on those tires and put on that power, and they're just not comfortable.
That's not what they do.
And they're hobbyists. There are still true hobbyists in that group, and I've made this example to a few people. This weekend, I could get into a VLR, run the 100cc, and I could be competitive. If I get in a GP, I'm going to be out there for 15 laps. I'm going to be dead. So that
going from Miata to a Porsche. Sometimes you can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So it was important for us to focus on that, because we had that in my mind, the hole in our program that we had to fill. Like most classes, the juniors fill up quick because they're probably the most dedicated, or one of the most dedicated groups, whether it's financially or just the kids just want to race everything.
Yeah.
But I knew we were going to be able to fill a hole for us. But what I didn't realize is specifically in South and Central America, they absolutely are going bonkers over that 100cc engine. It's crazy. Wow. I mean, we've sold, I don't know what the count is, but we're probably 400 engines, and I'll bet 180 of them are down there. Which
Wow,
is,
okay.
is there even that many racers down there? It's
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Wow.
So we can't keep those things in stock, which is good. And I hope that translates to, some Florida Winter Tour, to some Vegas, that type of stuff, because
Yeah.
the South Americans normally come up and do that. But for the U.S. market, I think it's, it's been good. The problem is introducing it to a lot of the older guys understood that 100cc because maybe they ran the KT or whatever.
Yeah.
The newer guys are still, trying to understand it, why they're doing it. But it's catching on. I think it's good.
Well, I would say this. As a guy over my career has run four-cycle, I've run on shifters, I've run Yamaha, whatever it may be. But most recently, I've been in the Briggs, right? It's my level of speed, my level of fitness has been able to do a lot of Briggs racing. I don't race a lot. For me to jump back into an X30 or one of your
impossible.
GP engines, it would just kick the crap out of me.
Yeah,
Right?
and it wouldn't be fun anyway.
It wouldn't be a good
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a good race day experience for me. I would love to do it for a session or two sessions and be exhausted just to have some fun. But when I ran the Sonoma race last year at the Challenge, when Andy had the Burrell for me and I ran the VLR, I was fine all weekend long.
Yeah.
And it's a track I was hammering through tic-tac-toe too aggressively for sure. My ribs were fine. But it has what I love Briggs racing. So this comes from a guy who loves Briggs, that kind of draft style. I still have a lot of fun running a Briggs. But when I got in that VLR, it's that bottom end rip that you don't have in a four cycle, right? Just
Absolutely.
off the corner, it's just ripping all the way off the corner.
Yeah,
So it was
a little softer tire.
I love
and-
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Softer hit, but still that. Yeah, obviously it's going to nose over at the end, right?
Yeah.
When you get to the peak RPM, but that bottom end torque, it was just. I had such a fun weekend trying to chase down Calvin Chen the whole time. He's got way more seat time. I had a lot of fun driving that day.
Well, and I think it eases people, if they are coming, whether they're new in the sport or they're out of the or coming out of the four-stroke side. It's that transition. You talk about driver transition, but it's also on the mechanic transition too. If you're not a professional
Very true.
mechanic,
Yep.
where so you come from the four-stroke where you're used to lubing the chain and checking the tires.
Yeah.
To now I'm changing gears. Maybe I'm doing a little bit of carb adjustment. Maybe the needle's not even moving, but I'm feeling it's moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You feel like you're part
It's a step up in that side too.
Absolutely.
Technically.
And the other thing that I think is cool about that engine is, it gives the tinkerers a little bit to tinker with too, because there is a little bit of tuning in the carburetor. Yeah. There's a little work that can be done by the guys that like to tinker. So I think it's a good program. I honestly think it's probably going to, in my opinion, whatever brand you choose, I think it's going to be one of our bigger growing programs over the next few years.
I was just going to say, I think it's going to be that growth area right now. We're seeing it at a lot of different places as we go. We see more guys coming. Now, folks, one more break in the action. We're going to come back and wrap things up here with Garett Potter. We're getting ready to go racing here pretty soon again. The ambulance is on its way back. As we said, we had a little bit of a break here. Calsby went and grabbed Garett. We'll wrap things up after this break. Feel like you're racing alongside the many legends that have called CRG home. With direct factory support, the CRG Nordam operation is the North American distributor for all CRG products related to karting and is based just outside Houston, Texas. The complete racing chassis line, including the famous Road Rebel shifter cart, is available through CRG Nordam. The growing FS4 Briggs & Stratton Focus chassis is expanding worldwide, including right here in North America. Many tracks, indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the Centurion rental cart line through CRG. New for the 2020 season is the Mini Hero for cadet racing, homologated for FIA competitions around the world. Head over to kartcrg.com or find them on all social media networks.
You want the best, you just gotta roll with the best. Streeter Superstands. This is Jeff Wessel from StreeterSuperstands.com. You wouldn't put subpar parts on your racing cart, so why put that cherished ride of yours on anything but karting's #1 lifts and stands, Streeter Superstands. Streeter is the original and genuine manufacturer of the second-to-none Bigfoot rolling stands, stackers, uprights, and industry-leading Superlift. We also manufacture and sell the largest and always growing roster of trailer and shop accessories like tire, engine and jug racks, cabinets, spray can trays, bead breakers, and tons more to outfit any size trailer, team, and budget. Streeter Superstands has over 30 continuous years of experience. We're kart racers just like you and know that the Streeter name represents the absolute best in stands, lifts, and accessories for karting enthusiasts worldwide. Durability, affordability, unmatched quality, and customer service, that's what sets us apart from the rest. Check us out now at StreeterSuperstands.com. Roll with the best, StreeterSuperstands.com.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network in this edition of the Industry Insider with Garett Potter from ROK Cup USA. I'm going to make it really easy here at the end, Garett. We had a great podcast, great stuff to chat about. Florida Winter Tour, almost done, right?
Yep.
You got one more big race coming. I know it's a crazy one for you. Then you get into your Rock Fest. Are you going to get a chance to take a deep breath? Like, is there going to be a bit of a time you can kind of, I don't want to say relax, but take the foot off the throttle because you've been at it for a long, like, we know you leave Rock the Rio, you are right into
Florida Winter Tour.
And I know that you're probably already into Rock the Rio again already, but is there a time there you can take a deep breath a little bit?
Well, I mean, honestly, a little bit, but as we
keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, but as we discussed before, the big thing for me is these programs, these club programs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, foot will be off the gas on our own program, but we still got to push. I mean, we have so much work to do, and these guys are going to depend. That's when this is over, everybody else is getting ready to roll, right?
Yeah.
So on our program, but Ursula and I and Robbie and my crew will be, heading to these tracks to help and try and build. We've got to keep going.
Any particular tracks or areas you want to bring up that you say, hey man, this is exciting. We got growth here, or somewhere new that you're potentially going?
Yeah, honestly, I think for me, you've got UMC is probably one of the big ones.
Yeah.
They've had
Utah Motorsports Campus, for those who may not know what UMC is.
Yeah, I mean, they had a little bit of a break last year. The purchase finally went through, had a little bit of a break, kind of reorient and see what they wanted to do and how they were going to do it, and just at least, hit the reset button for a minute. So they're all in. They're ready to go, ready to put on a new program. M Squared's going to be an integral part of that. They have been for, 15, 20 years, forever, since Utah karting was around.
Rock Raceway.
Yes.
Right.
Wasatch Raceway.
Wasatch Raceway.
We're going to go way
Wasatch
back.
Raceway Park.
Wasatch, baby. That's where I started.
Yeah.
This is where I started the craziness. Anyway, so I'm excited about that program, excited to help them and support where I can to get that thing rolling again. Awesome. And then NOLA. I think NOLA's exciting. I know that we all spend a lot of time on social media, but I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a lot of action going on over there.
Good.
So
great racetrack.
We're excited for the new management there. They're re-energized. We got Dominic Favalor, which used to work for me. He's now the manager of that shop. He actually worked for me at NOLA, and then came to work for me at ROK. He's back there, and there's some exciting stuff going there, which we need. That center of the country needs some work. So those are probably the two big things for me.
So Garett's 100% throttle all the way from Rock the Rio all the way to after the St. Petersburg race. He'll just breathe a little bit for the rest of
That's why the party at the Rock the Rio on Saturday night is so big, because that's his chance to just breathe.
Honestly.
Yeah, but if you're in karting, if you go full throttle, fully to off, you're going to stick that engine, guy. That's what you do in Vegas. You stick it, everybody. All right. So everybody sticks it on Saturday night.
David stuck it on Saturday night.
I love it. See,
I've stuck a few Yamahas.
I didn't hear about any of this, Garett, so I do appreciate this right now. I'll have to make sure I take care of it
when we shut the microphones off, I'll fill you in.
I love it. There you go, folks. That's going to be some insider stuff. Garett, thank you so much for joining us,
man.
buddy.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Great to get Garett with us here. David, thank you again. Again, just a little opportunity here on Saturday morning in Fontana, California. Garett, as we said, 100% full throttle all the time. He was here. We pinned him down. Great edition of the Industry Insider, folks. Thank you for joining us here on the EKN Radio Network on behalf of Garett and David. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.